Hey everyone, it's Xiao Joker here, and welcome to another video. Now, I'm sure all of us have those bad guys we really love, whether it's for their personality, or tragic backstory, or motivation. Everyone's got a villain or 50 million that they just love for whatever reason. And I am no different. I Well, actually, 9 times out of 10, I do like the villains more than the heroes. Simply because most interpretations of villains I find to be a lot more fun than the stoic hero who's going to save the day. And we all have, like I said, we all have a hero we know, a villain we love for whatever reason. And today, I'll be counting down my top 10 favorite video game villains. Now, a quick couple criteria for this list. What do I define as a villain? It's not just to be antagonistic towards the player character. Then a lot of rival characters could apply to this list. A lot of anti-heroes could apply to this list. But I feel like those characters deserve their own countdown. They need to be almost strictly antagonistic towards the player character, and more so just downright evil. We're not looking for morally gray characters, maybe some who have backstories that, in their minds, justify their actions, but in reality, these are the biggest bads in the universe. Now, they don't just have to be the major main villain of a game to count for this list. They can be minor villains. Once again, I'm still looking for them to be almost sheerly evil, at least in their actions. And as for criteria of what I'm grading these villains on, it is personality and character. A villain can just be fun, and I'll still like them even if they have next to no depth. A tragic backstory can definitely help, considering that can help, in their eyes, justify what they're doing. And that's pretty much... Oh, and motivation. What reason do they have for doing their heinous acts? And that's what we're going to be discussing today on my top 10 favorite video game villains. And just a quick disclaimer, as always, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree in the comments. And anyway, let's get into this. Warning, most of this list will contain spoilers for the games I discuss, and the first entries of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. So, if you haven't played Trigger Happy Havoc, what are you doing? Go play it! Starting off this list, we're gonna be talking about Junko Enoshima, the mastermind behind the first Killing game. I recently absolutely fell in love with Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. It was a fantastic game. It has faults in areas, now that I reflect on it, but it's easily one of my favorites. That may change as I play some of the later games, since I heard they're better in literally every way, but we'll see. But as for the game's villain, Junko Enoshima, for once, it's actually a really good twist villain. I think she dies in the first case of the game. Not even as the murder victim. She just attacked Monokuma, and there you go, she's dead. Then the game's fifth and final case, it's discovered that was actually her twin sister, Mukuro Ikusaba, and that she's the mastermind of the Killing game. I like the twist, However, a nitpick, since we discovered Mukuro's body as the hooded attacker, I was able to figure it out, so when I was personally playing the game, that kinda took the twist away from me, but she's still a really good villain. As for her motivation, it's kinda lackluster, but she just wants to spread despair for the sake of despair. And, well, where she really shines is her character. It's the fact that she pretty much has borderline multiple personality disorder, where she switches between personalities constantly in the sixth and final class trial once you uncover her mask as the mastermind. And even though it was a pretty serious case, considering, it's the final case and you have to figure out all the mysteries to the school or you die, it was either Hiro's banter or Junko's existence that was making me laugh. At least from what I've seen, she's not really that deep a character. Once again, she appears another day in Rompa Media, which I have yet to consume, so that could change in the future. As for now, the reason she gets down the list is she's not that deep of a character, so naturally she's going to lose some points with me. Yuko Enoshima is still a great villain. Spoilers for Sonic Heroes. Coming in at the number 9 spot on this list is Metal Sonic, specifically from Sonic Heroes. I feel kind of weird putting a Sonic villain of all characters above Junko, but let's go over Metal Sonic. As you might be able to guess, Eggman kept getting defeated by Sonic, as is obvious from how the series goes. So he decided to build a metallic version of Sonic in order to try and defeat him. That, of course, failed. But later in the series, in Heroes, Metal Sonic returns, and it's amazing. Found out that he's been mimicking Eggman to get all the groups of heroes together so he can defeat them, specifically Sonic, as he's actually convinced himself that he is the stronger and actual true version of Sonic. And he doesn't care if Eggman dies, he actually kinda wants to kill him. And I like this. I like how he actually overthrew his metallic overlord of sorts. For a Sonic villain, he's really interesting. I do have to give a close honorable mention to Eggman simply because of how funny he is. And Metal Sonic personality-wise doesn't have much going for him, which is, once again, why he's on a lower spot on the list. But he's still great. He has a fantastic motivation for wanting to be a villain. I'd argue if he was able to appear in more games, he'd even be more iconic than Eggman. He'll never stop trying to kill Sonic. I just love him. On to the next entry. Next entry will contain spoilers for Pokemon Sun and Moon / Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Coming in at the number 8 spot on this list is Guzma. And, oh boy, I really like Guzma. Well, no duh, it's on my top 10 favorite video game villains list. No duh, I like him. But the point still stands. With a bit of theorizing, he actually does have kind of a tragic backstory. It's very much implied once you visit a man en route to his house that he may have been abused as a child, which would leave him with ambitions for stuff. That's the best way I can put it without sounding like an ass. Plus, I really like how he treats Team Skull. Unlike most team boss villains who either think their team as nothing less than weapons to use to defeat the protagonist, Team Skull is very much a tightly well-knit family. Guzma never really got too far in his Island Challenge championship thingy, and neither did any of the grunts. It's part of why they carry weak, low-leveled Pokemon most of the time, with Guzma, Gladion, and Plumeria being the only real members they have worth their salt in reality. And he's endlessly entertaining in dialogue, with good lines such as, "Here's destruction in human form, it's your boy Guzma," and in the original Sun and Moon, when you enter the Ultra Beast world after Lusamine, he says, "Y'all are stupid." Now, as for the other Pokemon villains, I feel like some of them are more interesting. Cyrus is a very interesting villain. Lusamine is very terrifying, at least in the original Sun and Moon. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, they decided to make it, oh, she's just selfish, and that was stupid. And Gutsus is a lot of fun, but Guzma has everything that I wanted, that I like in villains. Motivation, tragic backstory, which can make what he's doing justified in his own eyes, and he's just fun. So why is he only number 8 on the list? Well, his role as a minor villain kind of prevents him from getting any higher. Lusamine is treated as the game's big bad. Team Skull really do nothing more than mess with your Island Challenge. Lusamine pretty much wants to rule the world. Guzma just wants to make a political statement. It's kind of a big difference there in actual what they're doing. On to the next segment. I would like to make this willfully apparent, since I'm currently Let's Playing this game. The next segment will contain spoilers for Fire Emblem GBA, the game I'm Let's Playing right now. If you guys are watching the LP blind, or playing the game, beating it, and then going to watch my Let's Play, play the game before watching the segments. Coming at number 7 on the list is the main villain of the game I'm currently Let's Playing, Nurgle. Now, let's go over Nurgle's backstory, as it's kind of confusing. Nurgle, at least implied in one of the side quest chapters you can do in Hector's story, married a dragon Aegnir, and had Nils and Ninian. They are his children. When the scouring was going on, he sent them to a portal in order to protect them. Due to some unfortunate events, he ended up losing his memories, which, since he lost all memory of Aegnir and his children, he suddenly decided, hey, world domination and everlasting power sounds fun now, doesn't it? And yeah, that's Nurgle's backstory. It's tragic. Even if you do that side quest in Hector's story, he even remembers the events as he's dying. It has a specific quote for it. As I established so far in my LP, I think he has a very fun personality. And what's his motivation for controlling the dragons? Once again, everlasting power and world domination. Once again, if he's such a deep character, why is he only number 7 on the list? And unlike Guzma, where it was he's a minor villain, the thing with Nurgle is that his whole tragic backstory is exclusive to Hector's story and the side quest, no less. What? I never understood why they made a story, a chapter, going over the backstory of the game's main villain, not only exclusive to Hector's story, which in reality is bonus content, but also a side quest chapter, one that is very hard to get. You have to get Nils to level 7 in Lynn's story. And in the Imprisoner of Magic chapter, you have to kill a Kishuna. If you just don't kill the boss or don't seize the throne in one chapter, it can be very easy to get Nils up to level 7. But the problem with that is, Kishine's where the problem is. He has very high luck and general skill and avoidance, and he just I tried killing him in my Let's Play, and from what I remember, I did a horrendous job at that. And I wasn't even trying. And I have tried to kill Kishuna just to play this chapter. I couldn't do it. Nurgle would definitely be higher on the list. Potentially a top 5, maybe even top 3 contender. But because of how the game locks his backstory behind optional content, it discourages me from actually playing through Nurgle's backstory chapter. The next entry will contain spoilers for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Girahim is my favorite Zelda villain easily. Now, this was a very tough choice to make. It was very much between him and Zant for me. I decided to have Girahim win out over the end, and let's explain that. His backstory, he doesn't really have much of a backstory. But let's go over his motivation for what he does. Start off with what he does. He claims to be the Demon Lord. In reality, he is trying to resurrect Demise. Which is pretty much the end of all world Super Saiyan Evil Hair Man. And you actually find quite a few times. Which is fun, I guess. But what really wins Girahim this spot is his personality. Good God, is he an entertaining villain? Even now, as I'm making this video, I'm starting to feel bad about only putting him at number 6. But when you don't really have much of a backstory to speak of, it's gonna knock you down a few points. Even if you are my favorite character of all time, or along those lines, or whatever he is. He's so fine with his mannerisms, his speak, he's everything. Just play Skyward Sword if you haven't, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Plus, one parallel between Link/Demise/5/Girahim, whatever you want to call this weird pentagon shape, I guess, is that you, Link, throughout the game, have a spirit within your sword. Fi, your assistant character. Demise, when awakened, we find out that Girahim was the spirit within his sword. I really like this detail. I think it's a very interesting parallel. Now, this parallel alone kind of made me think Demise could have potentially taken a spot on this list at some point. But he doesn't really have that fun of a personality or fun backstory. So I kind of guess decided Girahim would work more for this spot as the Zelda villain for my list. And there isn't much more to say. Girahim's praise has been shouted across the rooftops from pretty much all Zelda fans, even ones that don't like Skyward Sword. So, yeah. Next entry. The next entry will contain spoilers for Chrono Trigger. Kinda pains me to pick one of Chrono Trigger's many villains, considering a lot of them are interesting characters. Fortunately, Magus was automatically disqualified from this list since he fits more of that anti-hero rival type character, which is not on the list since those can get their own video. I find Azalo very interesting and was tempted to put her as my Chrono Trigger rep on this list for a while. Lavos is a very neat idea. I like the backstory behind Lavos and its purpose, but it doesn't really have a personality, so it'd be kind of hard for me to put it on the list. Queen Zeal, however, I decided to put on the list. Now, even in hindsight, I'm not entirely sure why I decided to go Queen Zeal, but we'll roll with it. The backstory is kind of interesting with this one. The people of Zeal wanted eternal life, and so they created the Ocean Palace, where they could use Lavos as an eternal energy source. Of course, our time-traveling buddies tried to ruin that for them. Which, in the end, created the Black Omen. Where Queen Zeal pretty much reigns supreme, being eternal, and with Lavos as sort of a power source type thing that she used. And the weird part about this is, because of the wibbly-wobbly time stuff, the Black Omen kinda just became normal to the inhabitants of every time zone. Yeah, that thing in the sky which could potentially end all our lives. That's been there since I was a young lady. You know how it is. Now as for her personality, to be honest, other than the I am high above you and I will crush you insect creatures sort of feel, she doesn't have much. Which is part of why she just barely made the top 5. And we already went over her motivation and backstory. She's a very interesting villain, more so because of her relationships with some of the characters, specifically Magus, considering, he's kind of her daughter, and now all he really wants is to defeat her and Lavos because his life was ruined. But we'll get to Magus another day. He'll get his own video in, I don't know, top 10 anti-heroes, top 10 rifles. I don't know which one I'll pick yet, but next entry will contain spoilers for Super Paper Mario. Now, here is another dilemma I had, and that was picking my Mario villain. There were so many good choices across the series. I could have gone with Bowser for sheer iconicity. That's even a word. Fawful for how fun he is. and how serious he gets in Bowser's Inside Story. Any of our actual picks minions definitely could have made the list. In the end, I decided to go with the man himself. The man whose only wish is to destroy all worlds. Count Bleck. Now, I need to go over his tragic backstory, as it's pretty much what makes Count Bleck. Count Bleck's tragic backstory. He was part of an ancient civilization who only loved the darkness and all the bad things in the world. He met a light person, I guess, and he fell in love with her. She disappeared one day as she was turned into a pixel, and Count Bleck, he spiraled into a deep, dark depression, ruining his life. He decided to seek nothing but the dark prognosticus. And he became a prodigy, essentially. The one destined to destroy every single world. And that's that. He's a very tragic character. As even though he shouts from the rooftops that he has a perfect plan for destroying all the worlds, he in truth doubts his plan. Even when Tippy meets him again, she says she's Timpani. He knows he's alive. She's alive. But at the same time, he knows it's too far to go back now. This isn't something you can just stop on a whim. Count Bleck is truly one of the most tragic villains in... I don't even want to say video games. I reckon he's one of the most tragic characters in fictional history. I genuinely cried when I heard his backstory. And this is a freaking Mario game. Specifically one that's called Super Paper Mario. You wouldn't expect this from a fun kids platformer with RPG elements, but no. We at Nintendo just have to give all the kiddies their nightmares. Thanks, Shiggy. And there isn't real much point in me going over his personality. His motivations and backstory really speak for it all, and all I can really say other than that is he's a fantastic leader. He's a borderline genius in his ability to lead others. In its minions, even after the plan has horribly failed, and Dementio has taken the Chaos Heart for himself, and is planning to destroy all worlds and create perfect new ones, the rest of his minions, they all believe in him. And inspire him, give him hope. Hope that he can still save this world with Timpani's help. I love you, Count Bleck. I just like the other three more. The next entry will contain spoilers for Kirby Triple Deluxe. I'm honestly surprised that number 3 on my top 10 favorite video game villains ended up being a Kirby villain? But yeah, let's roll with it. Highness was actually a very close contender for this spot. I just decided to give it to Queen Sictonia, simply because how much I grew to love her through my recent Triple Deluxe playthrough. But let's go over Sictonia. She is the queen of what are supposedly the Sectonians. We don't really have a proper official names on these guys, so we're just gonna have to roll with that. With her... Actually, I don't know what he's supposed to be, Tyranz. Is he supposed to be a jester? Is he a chancellor? Is he a royal vice? We'll just go with her friend. Her friend, Tyranza, gave her... pretty much helped her on her plans. She actually got, of all things, the mirror from Amazing Mirror, which made her incredibly vain. Even when Taranza did all this thing, kidnapping the supposed hero of Dreamland for her, manipulating him to be on their side, she still tried to kill him once she finally decided to try and fight Kirby. She has a bit of a tragic backstory, you might say, but it doesn't really affect her other than her becoming suddenly vain. So why is she over Count freaking Black? And for that reason, I have to say this. I decided to give her 1-up over Black because, well, yes, technically both people are affected within the tragedy of Count Black. I personally decided to go with Cyctonia because her honestly greed and vanity ruined another's life, which makes her more of a villain to me, where she thinks she's doing nothing wrong, but in reality she kinda just ruined Taranza. And there isn't much to speak in terms of personality, since we don't see much of her because she's one of those coming in at the last minute villains. Though the beginning of Royal Road did some masterful foreshadowing. Yeah, that's Queen Cyctonia. On to the next entry. The next entry will contain spoilers for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All. Once again, seriously, don't watch this segment without playing it. It's a visual novel series. You don't want to be spoiled. Now, I could have gone with a lot of different Ace Attorney villains. It's one of the shining points of the series, in my opinion. While yes, some of them are as deep as a pool designed for fetuses, some of them are very deep, just fun, and sometimes even tragic in their murder methods and motivations for murdering others. So I do have to give a couple of honorable mentions here, with Red Whiter being one of the most entertaining villains across the series, the Vasquez for being pretty much one of, if not the only tragic killer in the series, Damon Gant for once again just being a lot of fun, Dahlia Hawthorne for being the most evil piece of shit ever, Luke Atme for once again being very fun, and Rio Tigre for being really fun. But I ultimately decided to give it to Matt Ungard. Now, the thing about Matt, he's originally your client, which is weird, because apparently an assassin kidnapper dude's like, I need a complete acquittal for Matt Ungard, but trust me, he's 100% innocent. I'm not lying at all. Gumshoe, for one, speaks some common sense to us, like, okay, dude, I get you believing your client's in junk, but, someone doesn't just ask for a complete acquittal for someone who is actually really innocent. And he's right, because in the technically fourth investigation, after we break all of Matt's psych locks, he flips back his hair and pulls out some chalky milk and reveals scars. Once again, he pulls out chalky milk, but he doesn't give it to us because apparently we're not epic. Oh, why won't you validate me so? Now I've gone over what makes Matt a good twist villain, time for a bit more of his backstory. He was actually the original lover of Celeste Pax, his current manager, Adrian Andrews' mentor. She later moved on to live to want his rival, Juan Corrida, who is the victim of this case. because of Matt being a slimy scumbag and his male pride, he's in part the reason she killed herself. Yeah. He's one slimy scumbag, and that's really why I like him. He's not very deep. I'm pretty sure when writing Ace Attorney, the writer, who I don't know the name of, was pretty much, I have to rush this game, but let me make the main villain of the final case the sleaziest, stereotypical anime villain that the world of video games will ever see. And I have to commend him on that. If that was the point, you did masterfully. I will forever love to hate Matt on Guard. Spoilers for the entirety of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise in the next segment. Alright, for the number one spot on this list, we have William Afton / Purple Guy, whatever you want to call him. Now, why did he win the number one spot on my video games villains list? Well, let's discuss that. Starting off with his backstory. Originally, William was just a pretty simple man, a co-owner of the Five Nights at Freddy's, the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria franchise. Also, I should specify, this is going completely in lore and my current understanding of the lore. So what I say is outdated a bit. I apologize. Anyway, back to it. Who was the simple co-owner of the Fazbear franchise? But one day, his son was chomped in the mouth of Fredbear because of his stupid older brother thinking, yeah, that'll scare him. Put him in an animatronic's mouth. You're real smart there, Mike. You know that? And while this definitely hurt him, it didn't really hurt. His next child's death hurt him. His sister was scooped by an animatronic he made, Circus Baby. He had made all the Funtime animatronics. At this point, he wanted to bring them back. So he went down. After bad shit happened in his life, he secluded himself from everyone else and worked slowly within his walls. Mike, wanting to reunite with the father, fortunately got scooped. But thanks to Ennard's efforts, Michael Afton, at least for a time, was still alive. He couldn't die. Then, honestly, I can't remember what he really did in FNAF 2. I think the most importance he had there was he messed with the animatronics AI to make them a bit more aggressive, but that's it, I think. In FNAF 2, he was behind the missing children's incident. He lured 5 kids into the back and killed them, stuffing them in the animatronic suits to try and hide his deeds. Oh, I also forgot that he killed his partner Henry's daughter, Charlie, who was 3 at the time, and she became the puppet, which would ultimately give life to his previous victims. Between FNAF 1 and 3, William was stuck. The victims of his previous murders cornered him. So even though the suit that he used to lure them back was run down, the spring locks would fail if he jumped in it. He knew this. But he had to escape. He got in. He laughed. But then, in part, what happened to his son happened to him. The spring lock failure, ultimately killing William. Or so it would kill any normal human. For whatever reason, William lived on. He was supposed to die, but he didn't. He had been after the FNAF 3 location burned down, he had been abandoned by everything for years. That was until his son, Michael Afton, bought a Freddy's Pizzeria and salvaged a suit that he found in the back containing his mother's, what should be, corpse. Following Henry's plan, he burned him, freeing all the animatronics that he had gathered there, and sending William into an eternal hell. We know his ultimate custom night. Or we might know, because I still don't know how it really fits in with VR, how William became glitch-trapped, if ultimate custom night was supposed to be his eternal hell. But whatever. Later, he escaped his eternal hell into the virtual realm, where he became glitch-trapped. He mind-swapped with one of these employees, and now he's influencing a new killer, who will likely be in security breach to continue on his killings. William's very tragic, but at the same time a very selfish and self-absorbed killer. And that's what I like about him. He very much has elements of characters who have made this list. Count Bleck. He has a bit of a tragic backstory. But he has the selfishness and vanity of Sictonia and Matt combined. And that's why William Afton is, in my opinion, the best villain in any video game. So that's gonna be it for this video. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching, and well, let me know what your favorite video game villains are down in the comments below. Take care, and until next time, I'll see you guys, well, next time.